What is up YouTube? This is Alex aka Foreign. Intel's Coffee Lake CPUs released on the 5th of October with their mainstream processors finally moving forward in terms of core count. This time around, an i7 isn't 4 cores 8 threads, but 6 cores and 12 threads, which when coupled with Intel's superior single core performance will give it a noticeable edge over even Ryzen 7 in almost all applications, gaming or otherwise, though of course at a noticeable price increase. I will not debate if you should get an AMD Ryzen or an Intel 8th gen CPU here, but I will talk about this build I spec'd out, which in my opinion would be a perfect one to enjoy now and upgrade with new graphics cards down the line. It is a pricey build, but it is Intel we're dealing with here. With this CPU though, you will most likely have no bottlenecking issues for over 5 years. First of all, the processor. The i7-8700K is Intel's new flagship mainstream CPU, and its bulk price for 1,000 units is around $360, meaning its store price will be around $380 to $400 depending on availability. According to many rumors though, availability of the Coffee Lake CPUs will be pretty bad, but nevertheless if you have the money, it's worth the investment. A decent aftermarket cooler, for instance the CryoRig H7 I chose here, will allow the CPU to go up to 4.9 or maybe even 5 GHz depending on how lucky you get with the silicon lottery. It's not the best cooler, but it will do perfectly fine for a moderate OC. As for RAM, since it's not as important for Intel CPUs as it is for Ryzen, we can go with a moderately priced 2x8GB kit from Corsair. The RAM prices are pretty crazy now, but $140 to $150 will get you a decent 16GB kit. Housing all of these components will be the fresh and moderately priced Asus Prime Z370P motherboard. It's a practicality over everything kind of product. No fancy lights or extra features, just the basics with a decent VRM setup. It'll be totally fine for a gaming streaming rig. My only complaint here would be that there are only 2 fan headers, but we'll talk about this later. For storage, I went pretty overkill here. The OS, main programs, and games will go on a decent 500GB Western Digital M.2 drive. M.2 prices are going down nowadays, and $150 will get you 500 gigs of ultra fast storage so that you would never have to worry about loading times at all. I went with an M.2 drive because it is only a few bucks more expensive than a SATA 3 one. For general, larger scale storage, I chose the Western Digital Caviar Blue 1TB hard disk, which will easily house all of your movies, music, and recorded videos. Now for the case. It'll definitely look the part and do its job very well. The Meshify C from Fractal Design is one of my favorite cases recently released, and I think it fits this build really well with a sleek minimalistic design, the PSU shroud, and mesh front. The case should come with 2 fans, so the build would be more or less set in terms of airflow. However, I would recommend adding a second front panel fan down the line. In terms of the graphics card, I chose the GTX 1080 because it's the best value per dollar card in this price range right now, in my opinion, especially for 1440p gaming. The Asus Strix is the coolest and quietest cooler on the market too, and you only pay 20 to 30 bucks extra for it. The thing I love about the Strix model are the extra fan headers on the PCB, which allow you to connect more fans that will be directly controlled by the GPU temperature. So in case you'll be adding those extra fans into the case in the future, you can easily connect them straight to the graphics card without a Y splitter needed for the motherboard. Even fully overclocked, the build shouldn't draw too much over 500 watts, so I opted for a semi-modular 600 watt EVGA PSU. It'll handle even a GTX 1080 Ti if that's what you want to upgrade to down the line. In total, the build comes in at $1,600. That's not cheap, but Intel's overclockable platforms were never cheap. If you don't care about the ultra high frame rate performance of the 8700K though, then replacing the $550 CPU motherboard and cooler combo with a $300 Ryzen 5 1600 and B350 motherboard combo will give you more or less the same performance, especially if you're gaming at 1440p under 100 FPS. In that case, the build will come down to around $1,350, which will also give you an upgrade path for around 3 more years with next iterations of Ryzen. However, if you want the fastest CPU on the market right now, then the overclocked i7-8700K is where it's at, though for a noticeably steeper price of course. With this processor, you should be set for the next 5 years at the least without any need to upgrade. If you thought this video was informative, or maybe you disagree with me, let me know by commenting or leaving a like or dislike. The PC part picker link will be down in the description, but I encourage you to use my Amazon affiliate links. You won't lose anything, but you will support the channel at the same time. I'm thinking of doing a best build for $1,000 next, so stay tuned if you're interested. I thank you for your attention and hope to see you later.